I really, really like it when routine gets shaken up. I think we were meant and designed to care about other people and to be cared for. How do I be like Harriet Tubman in this time? I want to take hold of life the way that she did, regardless of if there's a pandemic or not. Especially when we share, especially when we look out for our neighbor and love our neighbor and consider their needs. It's beautiful to me how the way the earth is designed.
Brittany is a dear friend of mine. We can talk about anything. She's been a big inspiration in my life, and talking to her, it's very refreshing. And I gain so much insight from her and so much wisdom. I hope her story will give you a different perspective on life and inspire you in some ways.
Tell us about like how life has been for you in this quarantine time, like any changes.
It's been very interesting because I'm also in a very unique time of life where I'm at the end of a pregnancy. So not only is it already different for me because I'm pregnant and expecting a baby very soon, but then you add like quarantine, social distancing to all of that, and I it's made a really unique experience for me. I think it would be a lot different if I weren't pregnant. Like I would have probably a lot I would be saying a lot of different things than I am saying now. I started off saying like when the virus started getting really bad, I started off kind of thinking and telling people like, man, I know it's a weird time for everybody, but like being pregnant is really weird because uh you have things like appointments to go to and being at a hospital for your appointment where the hospitals are kind of like the where people gather to go get treatment for the virus. And um luckily I'm seeing a home birth, so I'm seeing a midwife who comes to my house. But I do have to go to the hospital clinic every now and then for like blood tests and things like that, or ultrasound or whatever. Um, so to answer your original question, um, before the virus hit America, I had already stopped working. I was already home a lot, already doing a lot of things to prepare to have a baby, like lots of house projects and getting things ready for the baby, getting a nursery set up and making freezer meals, things like that. So I was already kind of so quarantining for me wasn't a big deal. And I'm an introvert and I just love being at home and I love being kind of busy. Like,
Mhm.
I just kind of like stay busy all day. So it wasn't a hard transition for me to make. I didn't lose a job.
Mhm.
It didn't really affect me that much. My husband hasn't lost his job. He's still working. So
Mhm.
the only thing it's really changed a lot for me is I just can't see people. I just can't see as many people in person. Oh, one example is like at my son's birth. Um, I'm not going to be able to have a photographer like we originally planned. I can only have essential people just to minimize the risk. So, um, in the weeks after he's born, we have to really restrict visitors. Like, I don't know. I mean, we're not going to be having people like come in the house and bring meals and hanging out and holding them. Maybe a few select people and
Mhm.
with um just with extra precautions, to protect the baby and um try to minimize bringing germs in the house. which is a big bummer because after you have a baby, you want people to come
Yeah.
meet him and hold him and come
Yeah.
eat a meal with you and whatever. So that's really the biggest thing I think that will be different for us.
Yeah. It's definitely a different time. Is there anything that concerns you, say, having the baby in this time? Any particular things that concerns you during this time?
I think in the beginning when the virus first hit, I had just a lot of questions and there was a lot of unknowns. I was really kind of like shaken up when things started to get really serious, when they started, enforcing like stay at home ordinances and closing non-essential like when it started really picking up, it I was really afraid of even getting sick. That was my number one thing is like I do not want to get sick because if I get sick, that probably means I can't have a home birth, and I've been planning for a home birth. I've been wanting one for so long, and so I'm not. I mean, I said no visitors, not even my stepson. My point is like I was pretty fearful at first of just me getting sick, or if my husband Rain Man got sick, then
Yeah.
what if he got sick and I had to have the home birth without him, and he had to go be quarantined or be in a hospital? It was like, like there's so many things that could happen if someone near me gets sick. But I've relaxed. I've relaxed a lot on that, and I allow my stepson to come over. He washes his hands and make sure he's not feeling sick or anything, and we're doing all we can to keep ourselves healthy and really boost our immune systems. I've already been just zeroed in on my health because I want to have a healthy baby and a healthy birth and all that, and I feel great. And so we're doing all we can to protect ourselves and keep ourselves healthy. So I just don't want to have to go. I just want to completely avoid the hospital if at all possible. Like even if there weren't a virus, I still would just be like, don't. I just don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
um, I just want it to go smooth, which I think any birthing mother would want. So yeah, that's really it.
What are some things that you're doing to keep yourself healthy?
Yeah, I like that question. I could probably talk for hours about this topic. It's actually a topic I'm really passionate about, and I've recently just really become interested in nutrition, just learning more about the body and what the body needs. Learning about things like omegas, um, omega fatty acids, and the ratio of omegas that the human body needs. So, for example, you hear about omega fatty acids being healthy oils for you, but did you know that if you have too much omega 6 and not enough omega 3, it can really put your body out of balance and cause things like really bad skin problems. Uh,
I didn't know that. I didn't
yeah,
even know there are two types of omega.
I think there's a good amount of different kinds, different strands of omega, like, different numbers or whatever. But the most important ones and the ones that you see the most on like food labels or in supplements is omega 6 and omega 3. And for the longest time, my family, like my mom, my dad, all of us, we got on this kick of like, oh, we're going to start taking omegas because we hear that's good for you. And my dad just went out and bought a big bottle of omega 6. We were all taking that for a long time, and my dad got this really bad skin issue on his feet and on his hands. And he thought the omega-6 was going to heal that. But in hindsight, now that I know, I'm like, we were getting way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, which you really need to get your omegas from food as natural as possible. That's just an example of like nerdy research that I've been getting into. So I got gestational diabetes during my pregnancy, which is pretty rare. For most women don't get it, and I didn't have diabetes before. So I got diabetes at the middle of my pregnancy, and my midwife said, you need to make these changes so that your body basically hides the diabetes from your baby so that, it's as almost as if you don't have it and you can safely have a home birth without complications. So I had to make major diet and health changes. I had to commit to exercise a lot more. I had to start taking a couple different supplements, and that it was really hard at first, but I made a lot of really good choices. I just started eating like more clean meat, like just a lot of like locally grown beef, pork, chicken that's not, not raised on an industrial food farm, but just grown locally without antibiotics. Eating more natural fats that are in meat and things like avocados and nuts, and just really pumping my body full of things that are in their most natural form and provide a lot of energy. I started taking cod liver oil. It's we take it in a pill form, my husband and I, and it has really improved cognitive health for us. So it's supposed to be
What is
like,
that? What
it
is
just is like a brain boost. It helps you have like clear thinking, like a clear head. The main thing that you get from cod liver oil is the right ratio of omega-3 and omega-6. It has both in the right balance. So you want a 2-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. And it's like does wonders on your skin. It helps you to absorb vitamins that you're eating in your meat and your vegetables. We've been doing that, and so diet and supplements have been like a big part of us keeping ourselves healthy. Real like minimizing sugar and empty carbs, empty calories. Trying to exercise, get sun on our skin. The virus, they say, is a respiratory thing, so we try to like minimize the amount of artificial heat or air conditioning that we're pumping into our house. We just have window units that pump out heat and cold air. And the heat, when we're using heat, it like dries the air out in our house. It'll dry our eyeballs out. This is like not good. So we run a humidifier, to help keep things flowing. They say it's good for your nose to run a little bit sometimes, because that means things are flowing and moving and not getting, stuck in your sinuses and in your throat and things like that. So
wow? That's an
something to
interesting aspect.
yeah, if you look up instructions for window units or like space heaters or even your home heating, I'm sure some home heating things say like it's not meant, the air that you're pumping into your house is not meant to replace normal fresh air that your body should be getting. If you spend too much time inside, you're just getting this recycled air that's not really fresh, and it's most likely going to be dry because it's being made out in a machine that's taking the moisture out of it. And when your sinuses are dry, they're prone to contain viruses or infections. So moisture is good. That's why, like, you see a lot of ancient cultures really love like saunas and heat. What do you call them? When you sit in like hot pools and breathe steam in, like that's supposed to be really, really good for your body to help
Yeah.
your body shed toxins and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I loved hearing the science background.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing all of that. It's a very helpful information.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. I like talking about health and natural living naturally as much as possible and all that.
What are some things that you appreciate the most in this time? Maybe some things that you won't be able to do otherwise
Yeah.
because of this time.
I think that the biggest thing has been reconnection with some people that like I said, I've already been a lot. I've already kind of had my head buried in my own projects of trying to get ready for a baby to come. So not much has changed for me, but a lot of old friends and like family members have had to stop and slow down in life. And their lives have been way more affected by job loss, or their kids aren't in school, so they're home more. And like some old friends, like old friends, have reached out to me, and or I've we've just come in contact again and talked more. Like my college roommate, we stay in touch probably like 3-4 times a year. She lives in California, and uh, since she's a really active mom. She's out a lot. Her family's very active. But now that she's just like home with kids, I get to talk to her more. And I love that. We caught up the other day on Facebook Messenger. And she just had enough time to sit down and chat for a while. And um, that was really cool. I feel like the pace that a lot of us go in life doesn't really allow for us to have time for people, especially long distance friendships. People that you don't see every day, or that you don't live close by, or that you don't spend holidays with. Um, that's probably been the best thing for me. It's like I've lost connection with some people because of social distancing, like the people that are near me, like in my town, or people that I would travel to see, maybe like my friend Melissa in Memphis, 4 hours away. I don't, see people in person as much, but then there's this whole new like set of people that I am talking to and catching up with, and it's just been cool. I don't know. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I felt the same too. I think the social distancing, like it reduces my contact with people that's close by.
Mm-hmm.
Then it opens up a lot of opportunities for me to catch up with, like, say, high school friends, college friends.
Yeah.
Like all the people over the other side of the world. Now I have more time to talk to them.
Yeah, for sure. One thing to add. Can I add one thing?
Sure.
I really, really like it when routine gets shaken up.
For you or for other people?
Huh?
You mean for you or for other people?
Well, both. I know for other people it's like not good. There's some people who love routine and thrive on routine. and need it, for their mental, emotional health and just their lifestyle. And I need that too. But for example, I love it when it snows so hard that kids don't go to school, people don't go to work.
I
I
love that too.
I'm like, yeah, shake it up. Um, One time it snowed in Oregon when I was out there. It snowed so hard that for 2 weeks people were stuck in their houses. And
Jeez.
yeah, it dumped like so much snow, and then it stayed cold, and people couldn't get their cars out of their driveways. um, Kids couldn't go to school, and it really just shook things up. And I remember being like, I love this. I love that I have to walk to the grocery store, to get food, because it's just something different and you have to get creative. And I know I do have the perspective that, like, for some people don't have the privilege of seeing times like this as like um, an opportunity for something different. Like, some people are in survival mode and they can't work and they can't feed their family as well as they want. And they're struggling to pay rent. So I'm aware that, like, it's it's a lot harder on some people to
Yeah.
lose a job, or to not have school for your kids to go to so that you can work. Um, but just, if you know what I mean, like the general
Yeah.
idea, some people are having to be at home with their kids now, and they're having to get creative and like actually explore their backyard with their kids, trying to fill hours of time with creativity and connection can actually be really good, even though it was probably really hard. So, for example, one thing I really love, and this wouldn't have happened any other time. So Tuesday nights are date nights with my husband Rayman, and the last couple of Tuesday nights we've just stayed home and either just made food here or went and got picked food up and then brought it back and watched a movie. And I was like thinking, so yesterday I was thinking, this could be our last date night before we have a child, and I don't want to sit at home again and watch a movie and stays quarantined inside our house. So I texted him while he was at work and I said, hey, this could be our last date night for a while. Um, I said, I want you to ask me out on a date and get really creative and plan it. Asking him to do that, I mean, he did so good. He took the challenge. Planning things is hard for him because he doesn't have a lot of strong preferences. But he came home from work and it was so sweet. It was almost as if I had never suggested the idea. He came home, and as soon as he walked into the door, he said, "Hey, will you go out with me tonight?" And, and I was like, "Yes." And he said, "I want you to get dressed up, and I'll dress up too. And I'm gonna take you out to this restaurant that I've it's a restaurant that's been on our list for a long time that he's eaten at, but I haven't. And apparently they have like really, really good food. And so we got dressed up and drove to this restaurant and then sat in the car and just waited for them to bring the food out. And then we were like, well, where do we eat it? We were so hungry. We were gonna come back and have like a picnic, but we were so hungry. So we just pulled into this church parking lot and like scarfed down these amazing burgers. But we're like all dressed up eating our food in a church parking lot. on and then we went to Whole Foods and got a couple of sparkling sodas, and we each got a cookie, and then ate that in the Whole Foods parking lot, and we just enjoyed it. Then we came back and made a campfire in the backyard, and just sat there. We just sat there quietly, like sitting next to each other, just enjoying the fire.
Um,
No TVs on, no phones on. We weren't on our phones, and it just felt nice. It felt really relaxing, and we don't typically go at that pace, you know? It just felt like we were moving slow, and the world is slowed down a little bit.
mm,
And we fell asleep at like 8:30, 8:15 or 8:30, because we were so relaxed, and um it was just nice. I don't know.
that's a great story. I love it. It's my best quarantine story so far.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh,
So,
that's sweet.
it was very sweet.
Well, I have one last question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the question that I wrote down was, what brings you joy in this time? I guess could be something like what motivates you going, or what lifts your spirit up when you were down.
A couple of things come to mind. There's a lot of little things that really bring joy, and that kind of like give energy back to me, and inspire me. I'll name some of the little things first, like just being outside, like being outside in my backyard and not being on the phone, and just, it's spring, so things are starting to like, trees are starting to like fill out, and there's kind of this like light, cool feel in the air, and there's wild honeysuckle bushes growing around my yard, and sometimes I can smell them so strongly,
Mm.
and it's just this. Sometimes I like force myself to do it because it sounds like kind of. Sometimes in my mind I'm like, oh yeah, go outside and smell the flowers, like such a hippie thing to do. Like I've got stuff to do today, you know. But if I actually go out and do it, I can tell my body and my mind, my spirit, like respond. And I practice box breathing and tactical breathing a lot of times in the mornings. It's just a focused pattern of breathing that is supposed to like just center your mind and help your body get a good amount of oxygen. So little stuff like that. Going outside, I let my dogs out with me, and they get to run around and play, and I'll just enjoy like the birds singing, and laying in my hammock, ways in the wind is just so peaceful and calming.
Mm.
I like doing that. Lately I've loved experimenting with food. I've really loved cooking different kinds of meat that I haven't cooked before. Um, and food is kind of like food is a big joy for me in life right now, because I'm seeing it more and more as like medicine and nourishment rather than just something to fill my stomach. And it's such a gift to be able to taste food, and it's such a symbol and a metaphor. I think it's beautiful to me how the way the earth is designed, the way the plants and the ground, the soil and animals, and the food, the natural food system, it's so beautiful to me how it works, and how it nourishes the cycle of life. So I think when I like cook food lately, I think a lot about one thing that I've been listening to a podcast, well, actually a couple different podcasts about Harriet Tubman. I don't know if a civil rights activist is the right term for her, but she had a big part in the Underground Railroad movement where she was helping slaves escape slavery and seek freedom in more northern states in Canada. But for some reason, this whole quarantine thing has got me thinking a lot about her and how she was this warrior woman who was born into slavery and, treated like most slaves, treated less than human, kind of treated like an animal or a machine. And uh, she was really, she was really rebellious, kind of, and just had a really sober way of thinking, like even as a young girl. And she was um, really strong physically, and just her spirit was really strong. And she worked so hard and just fought as hard as she could, and led tons and tons. It's in the hundreds how many slaves she helped to uh, to to freedom, and she fought for people, and she escaped death and imprisonment and re-enslavement so many times. In a time when a lot of slaves were kind of just, maybe didn't have hope, and didn't see another way of life other than just you're born on a plantation, and you work hard. You don't cause trouble. You do it to keep your children safe. You do it to keep your children with you instead of getting sold off. Um, and she had such a strong vision for freedom that she literally risked her whole life over and over again. And something about her really inspires me. It's been easy for me to think like this virus. I'm not comparing I'm not comparing at all, like, the plight of the African American during slavery times to us being kind of victims of this virus and the way it's affected our the world and our countries and whatever. But I personally, I want to I want to take hold of life the way that she did, regardless of if there's a pandemic or not. But the fact that there is a pandemic, it's like, oh, you know, life is pretty good here for the most part. There's still a lot of opportunity in America. It's an open divide, yeah, and it's not equal for everybody. There's still the masses of the marginalized and the poor and whatever. But when the virus first started to hit America and so many things were in question, I feel like the media just tries to freak everybody out. And then, states started enforcing stay at home ordinances and shutting down the businesses. When it's really started to get like serious and everyone was realizing it, I kind of was like, oh, I like, how do I be like Harriet Tubman in this time? How do I, I want to I want to be part of like some badass underground thing where we're able to like get food to people that aren't working. Like, let's get some like fresh farm eggs out to some of my neighbors who are already low income, and then probably lost. Well, I know one neighbor was just working a retail job and lost that job. They're already low income. It's like she has a kid to feed, and her husband is there, and they're not working. Like, how do we still keep a lifeline open that is not dependent on the government, is not dependent on the economy, and is still bringing life and nourishment to people. And so I had lots of ideas. I know things are like looking up now and they're looking at opening up the economy, but I was ready. I was ready to, you know, buy up all the eggs in Trader Joe's or buy all the eggs from my farmer friend and tell people to come by and get some food. And I started preserving a bunch of, food that we had here at the house and making extra things so in case I could uh help somebody out. I didn't know. I didn't know how bad things were going to get, but it kind of excited me to be like, oh, this could be an opportunity for us to like really love on people and really stick it to the beast, stick it to the government, stick it to the survival and the dependence on um the economy and whatever. I just don't do my so much of my life is dependent on the economy, but I want to be in that place of faith where I know life and sustenance doesn't come from the government. It comes from a higher place. It comes from a higher provision. Um, and there's much more available to us, than we think. Even when the economy shuts down, like the way that I think that God designed the earth is to multiply all things, um, to meet our needs, and especially when we share, especially when we look out for our neighbor and love our neighbor and consider their needs. If every single person in the world just cared for the neighbor to the right and to the left of them, like their physical neighbor, then we would all be taken care of, because there'd be this. I know this is so ideal, but there would be this flow of like, I'm looking out for you, you're looking out for me, you need this,
Mm.
and I don't have it, but I could ask my other neighbor, and that neighbor can ask my other neighbor, and we can literally look out for people.
It's like we're all sharing the load.
Yeah, we're all sharing the load and we're creating balance by looking out for each other's needs. We asked a couple of our neighbors, I think 2 weeks ago, if they needed anything, and they all looked at us like we're crazy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, our one neighbor, he's pretty elderly. He's got to be in his like late 70s. Um, we especially told him like, whatever you need, we'll help you out with, so you don't have to go out in public, get in your car, you don't have to put a mask on. One of us can go get it for you, if you need. And I don't think he was quite tuned into what was happening with the pandemic.
Oh, he probably doesn't even know much about coronavirus.
Knew about it, but I don't think he was taking it seriously at all. And so he was just kind of looking at us like, okay, thanks. He was like, I don't need anything, but thanks. um, Whatever, he, in case it did get to a place where he was more concerned, he knows he can call on us. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, sorry I'm talking so much about
No,
one,
no.
but so Harriet Tubman, just learning about her life really inspired me to think about people and to really ask myself, like, how do I want to live? How do I want to spend my time? Where is meaning for me and for my family in life? And just kind of remembering like, oh, I want to, like, there's pain and there's oppression and sickness everywhere, even without a pandemic. Um, there's people in need of friendship and hope and, um, healing and life and nourishment everywhere. And so I want to live that way regardless. It's just a matter of, finding ways to be creative with that and let my heart desires turn into action. And a lot of times that just looks like checking in on our neighbors or checking in on friends, um, staying connected to the things that are around us that we, if we have an opportunity to give something, we can give. Um, Somebody the other day said they ran out of toilet paper, and I was like, I don't have any either, but I have lots of paper towels. I was like, you could come get paper towels. And so she came and got some paper towels. I found toilet paper later on, um, so we were able to not not have to use paper towels. But and then another person that we know has been working with the homeless community in Birmingham for about 3 years, and she put a thing out there on GroupMe just saying like, hey, if anybody wants to help, the homeless populations are like the last people to kind of receive news or receive help. Want to look out for them in this time. Many of them don't have access to like being able to wash their hands or have some hand sanitizer, and a lot of food banks are starting to shut down. So we got to be involved with that a little bit from a safe social distancing way.
Mm.
Um, and just I don't know, things like that. It's really important for me. I get bummed out and kind of like depressed if all I'm thinking about is me, you know?
Mm.
Because if all I'm thinking about is me, then I can come up with tons of needs that I have. I'll be like, well, okay, we need food. I can fill our fridge. Go get food and fill our fridge. Well, we need to find things to entertain ourselves while we're stuck at home. Then I could be like, oh well, we should probably um I don't know, get HBO or something so that we can have more movies to watch. I could just come up with an endless amount of needs, and then it's just this cycle of me thinking about myself, and I don't need HBO. Like, not that watching movies on HBO is bad, but it's the principle of I can't none of us can really get stuck on ourselves, because then it's just
Yeah.
this vicious cycle of looking out for number one. And I think a lot of our joy, I think we were meant and designed to care about other people and to be cared for by other people. That gives me the most life and inspiration. Like, it is so thrilling to be able to say like, hey, put it out there like, hey, I need toilet paper, and somebody be like, well, I need some. I'll take some of that chicken bone broth that I know you have a lot of, because I need that for a recipe. So like, yeah, let's trade. Like, I'll give you some food and you give me some toilet paper, and there's no exchange of money, and we're like looking out for each other. And like, you're letting me borrow a camera to use for our birth, like, I don't know what I'm giving. I did buy you a present, but
You don't have to.
I bought that present because I think it's really cool. I think you'll like it, and you are quarantined at home like I am, and so I think this will be a thing to help you pass time, and a thing that you might enjoy. So there's like this beautiful like give and take between people.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow, that's very inspiring. And I love that you give us a different perspective on life, like shifting from about us to other people.